All right, let's continue our coverage of the Crumbley cases with Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. Thank you for being here with us.
Good evening.
So, Karen, you and your team fought really hard throughout all of these trials. How are you feeling today?
It's been a long 2.5 years, there's no question. I feel a sense of relief on behalf of these parents, particularly who have endured a lot of legal proceedings and 2 trials, a sentencing hearing, an actual sentencing, and it's been really rough. So naturally, we would hate for them to have to endure that and not to bring them any justice. But again, this can't really, it's difficult because it can't bring these kids back, but they do have a sense of relief. So that's one step in the right direction.
And Karen, it's been a tough situation all around for everyone, but for parents at home now who have children who may be struggling, what kind of message do you think that this sends to them?
I think most parents don't need this message. It's most parents do the right thing, and they exercise not just ordinary care, but are very diligent and don't ignore signs that something's wrong, and then not only just ignore those signs, they put a deadly weapon in the hands of their kid. So I'm not sure most people don't need this kind of a message. These are really egregious facts.
Yeah, most people would agree that that shooter was just failed on so many different levels. Were there any aspects of this trial that were even shocking to you just to see the magnitude of that failure?
It's rare you have an experience as a prosecutor where you are trying the similar case. They weren't exactly the same. The evidence was different, but a large portion of it was the same. Where you try a case again, so close in time. And Mark Keast, who was the lead attorney and is an assistant prosecutor in my office, did an excellent job. And both of us agreed, and the whole team. There were things that even at the very end, we found, you're in this evidence and you're living this case for so long, but standing back on its face, some of it, it's just so hard to believe. For instance, the amount of time it takes to put a cable lock on a weapon, it's about 10 seconds. And that is really compelling and even more just tragic that it just took so little.
To piggyback off of what Terrence said, Karen, is it fair in any way, shape, or form to somehow consider the shooter a victim, being that his parents seemingly did not do what they should have done?
I think that's one of so many things that's really complicated about this case, and has been, that it's impossible not to feel compassion for the shooter. I personally feel compassion towards the shooter, and that absolutely had a role in how his case was prosecuted. That's something that I considered heavily. However, after months of a careful consideration and looking at the law and looking at all the facts and the expert opinions and the evaluation, the facts of the case, there were obviously it's a homicide, but the manner in which it was carried out and all the other facts, both things can be true. That we feel compassion, that he didn't receive what he needed, but that his, just dark, tragic, awful acts on the school that day really required a life without parole sentence. And it's not something I took lightly at all. It just isn't. But his role in that does not in any way mitigate the responsibility to exercise ordinary care on the part of his parents to prevent foreseeable harm to the other kids in that school.
We saw you embracing some of those family members when they exited the courtroom. Can you tell us how they're feeling today?
The parents of those children feel very much like they want accountability, and that's very important to them, and I support that wholly. And this is really just, that's one step in that accountability, and I think there's relief to them, that there's not yet another door slammed in their face. And as hard as it is for them to sit and hear their kids' names and their death being described, they they knew that it was important to do, and they were 100% committed to that. And we've been with these families for 2.5 years, and we've been through, we've stood by them. I personally have, and so has Mark, through some really painful moments. And yeah, I mean, there's really no way to describe what the last 2.5 years has entailed for everyone who's been involved in this case. But I think the prosecutions and the things that were uncovered, and the story that it needed to be told. I mean, we have an obligation, all of us, not just the people in that courtroom, not just the judge, not just the jury, to hear what happened and how easily it could have been prevented.
And like you said, Karen, 2.5 years, this has been a very long time for all of you involved. Do you have any final words or reflections now that it's, for lack of better terms, over?
I do. Gun violence is a public health crisis. It's the #1 cause of death for children in this country. And these 3 prosecutions are not going to solve the problem. Simply safe storage alone will not solve the problem. We have to look at it like it is, which is a public health crisis, and look at all of the things that we need to be doing on the prevention side before anyone ever even has their hands on a gun. And we need to do more than just teach kids to run, hide, fight. We have to give our kids more than run, hide, fight.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.